you want to start the recording?
Recording in progress.
Thank you. This meeting is held in accordance with the with the Open Public Meeting Act 10:4-6 at SEEK. Annual notice having been forwarded to the New Jersey Herald and the New Jersey Sunday Herald and posted on the bulletin board maintained in the municipal building for public announcements. Would you please rise and join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag,
United
the
States,
United
States of America,
and to the republic
and
which
which stands one nation, under God, visible, liberty, and justice for all.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Bongiovanni? Nope. Mr. Dellarina?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock? Here. Mr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Rossi?
Here.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Tappan?
Mike is here, he's muted.
Oh,
Ron?
Mike's here.
Yep.
Mike is here, but he's muted.
Okay.
Unmute yourself. There it is.
I'm here.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Tappan, I got you. Mr. Taylor? Councilman Schindler?
Here.
Mayor Francis?
Here.
Mr. Gilbert?
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Minutes. Minutes for March 1st, 2022 have been electronically presented to all the members of the council, the board. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of March 1st, 2022? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dellarina?
Same.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Judy?
Yes. Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert?
Yes. We have no continued applications, so we'll move right on to the new applications. Greg Lentine, Block 31101, Lot 40, 225 Maxim Drive. Applicant would like to expand the second story of their home, staying within the same footprint, and expand the detached garage. Variance is being requested, etc. Is Mr. Lentine here?
I am.
And is there anyone here who's going to be representing you, sir?
Yes.
And who is that?
Pete Caliphate. Pete, who's with you?
Pete, Greg, I also have Elizabeth Reed. She'll be coming right online in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. If are you an attorney, Mr. Caliphate?
No, sir, I'm a project manager and a architect.
Okay, in that case, you all want to please raise your right hands and be sworn in by Mr. Haggerty.
You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do.
Mr. Lentine, state your full name.
It's Gregory Lentine.
And are you the property owner?
Yes.
And Mr. Caliphate, to save some time, could you give the board your background?
Yes, Elizabeth Reeves is the architect of record. I work with Little Beth. She'll be right on. She just got back from Brooklyn.
Pete,
Okay,
Pete, I'm here.
Okay.
It's just that my married name is Lind. I practice under the name of Reeves.
Okay, you want to raise your right hand, please, and be sworn in by Mr. Haggerty.
Do you swear the testimony?
Okay.
Yes. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And your full name?
Elizabeth Reeves Lind.
Okay. And could you give the board your background?
Yes, graduate at Cornell University and NJIT. I've been an architect now for 40 some odd years, practicing up around the Sussex County area. Pete is my project manager and sort of keeps the office going for me, does my meetings and whatnot, because I also work for the Army.
Okay. And have either of you testified before this board before?
I haven't.
I think I have, but it would have been many, many years ago.
Okay. All right. But you're currently licensed in New Jersey?
Yes, sir, I am.
And you also, Mr. Caliphate?
I am not a licensed architect. I am a project manager.
Okay. All right. In that case, is there any objection to accepting Ms. Reed's Lind as an expert witness? Any objection from the board?
No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lentine, back to you. Who is going to start the testimony here?
I'm not sure what to do, so
Greg.
Beth,
Greg, I'll start off, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Caliphate.
Yes, thank you, sir. So Mr. Lentini's position is his existing house that he has on the lake is a 2-story residence, but it is not, you don't have the full height on the 2nd story. So our addition is planned to give him a full 8 foot of height. If you gentlemen have gone through the drawings, you'll see on the proposed 2nd floor, it'll be a full 8 foot high plate line with the roof rafters on top. We do not exceed the height restrictions. We are at, I think it's, hold on. On the front elevation, which is the front entrance, the proposed front elevation, you would be, was like 28, I believe it's 28 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the rear, because you have a lower basement, all right, you have the extra, it's only 7 foot in the lower basement area. And then each floor is, it's 7 foot in the basement, 7 foot on the main floor, and then it will be 8 foot on the 2nd floor for the height on the ceiling. And then you
So
have,
that would be a 3-story house.
well, on the lake side, yes, it's 3. Most of it, it's just because of the way the grade is sloping, okay? The basement is partially unfinished, and that's where his utility room is, and it's just a so-called just storage area that he uses now for the house. It's not it's not really a finished basement, okay?
What is the height of the basement in the back?
It's only about 6 foot in the backside where the utility area is. So it's not really a full basement back there. And there is crawl space back there too.
You would maintain the current footprint, Mr. Caliphate?
I'm
No
sorry.
expansion footprint?
Yes, we're not exceeding, we're using the same footprint of the house that's there. We're just going straight up, that's all.
Okay, on the, you also have plans to change the garage, is that correct?
Yes, sir. The existing garage is very close to the road. And the garage is not in the greatest of shape. And we're planning on redoing the garage, keeping the setback on the left side the same as it is now, and making the garage larger and pushing it back off the road. If you look at the survey, I believe you guys should have that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
So you'll see on the survey done by Lakeland Survey, they showed the existing garage, and it also shows the proposed garage. Okay. So the new garage is 24 by 24, and it'll be 8 foot tall inside. And we're doing a little bit extra room so he can have storage upstairs. It will not
Okay.
be a living area, but it will be just for storage.
No utilities,
He'll probably have electric there. That's all.
no water.
No water. No.
Okay.
How are you gonna access the storage area? Do it pull downstairs?
I believe, on the drawings, I believe I have a set of stairs that accesses it.
There are no stairs on the drawing, so we'll
Yeah, I
have to
didn't see
figure-
anything.
All right.
No, I mistake. It's a pull down stairs.
Okay, pull downstairs like an attic, to the
Yeah.
attic stairs. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Well, the roof line, how close does that get to, when you add the roof on there, side roof? How close does that get to the adjacent property? I mean, now it's showing 2'7", but then you have the roof overhang and you're close again. Why do we want to build another compound fracture there? Why don't we want to move that over and reduce the size of the added garage a little bit?
Just 1 minute. Let me just pull that up. Hold on, please.
Shows a 16-inch overhang on the soffit.
All right.
So right now I'm 2'7" at the wall.
Right on the left side, there's a driveway that goes down to get access to Mr. Lentini's property.
There's no other structure next to it.
Yeah,
No,
it's an open road. That's across from the church there, Bob, from the
Correct.
R&B church.
No, it's just we're building on the lot line so much lately that, we're right on the lot line again. Everything's on the lot line.
I can-
Is that, yeah. Sorry.
I'm
Isn't
sorry.
that the common driveway?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I thought so. That was part of the parcel that the person built a new house on. It
Correct.
had
Well-
5 properties, 5 houses.
Yes, and he ended up buying the association that owns that road going down to the lake and the dock that's in the lake. He's
Okay.
fully aware of this. Actually, he just called me, and we're not exceeding what the existing what's there now as far as the roof line. So it's staying the way it is. I mean, just as a little background, my wife and I bought up there almost 20 years ago, and at the time we decided we wanted to retire. It took us about this long to save up the money to fix the house and get it the way we want. My wife retired 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and I'm going to retire next year. So we want to fix up the house so that we can move up there and retire up there. Unfortunately, with the way prices are right now and supply, hopefully we saved up enough money for it. But we've been up there for 18 years. We will be living in the house and living there full time.
Okay.
The only other question I have on the house itself is we have a den with a closet. That can't become a bedroom, correct? That's gonna stay a den, not a bedroom?
Well, right now there are 4 bedrooms in the house. There are currently 4 bedrooms. It's listed on the tax as a 4-bedroom. However, we don't need 4 bedrooms, so we're going to make that into a den.
Okay, and the family room upstairs will remain a family room. That won't become a bedroom as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you're looking at the plans that show a door going into that room. I don't plan on putting a door in that room either. So that'll be an open family room. So yeah, absolutely. This is going to become a 3-bedroom den house. We don't need 4 bedrooms, even though we have 4 now.
Okay,
And when we say we're staying within the footprint, we're actually not using the entire footprint of the house. We're keeping it from back from the lake. We're only building towards the street side.
If
Any
you
other
look at the
questions,
left-
comments from the board? Okay, Mr. Califoot?
I'm sorry, sir. If you look at the existing left side elevation, the second story sets back. You can see there's a vaulted area that's above the kitchen and dining area. So that's where the second story, it will go from there to the front of the building. So that the section where the roof is now, that will stay as existing.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I will open it up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to comment or question this application? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and in reactions, raise your hand. We'll wait for a moment. Ron, do you see any?
Yeah, we got Colleen, you're up.
Ah, there she is. I knew she'd be here tonight. Colleen. There you
Hi,
go.
everyone. My name is Colleen Lyons. I'm here on behalf of the Lake Hopatcong Commission, and I'm not really providing comment on this. I just was letting you know that the commission did submit a letter, and it just has some recommendations if you wanted to look at those, but nothing pressing, just about things you can do on your property to protect the lake. That's all.
Thank
The
you.
letter dated March 8th was received.
Right. Mr. Lentine, do you have a copy of that letter? Did you
I have a
receive it?
copy of the letter. I've read the letter, and I'm in full favor of protecting that lake as much as we possibly can. We
Good.
love the lake. We've been there for a long time, so I agree totally with the commission.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to comment or question this application?
Alan, I
Seeing
don't
none,
see
I'll bring
any.
it back to the board. Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, what is the motion to approve it?
Yeah.
Prove it as is
Prove it as is.
with whatever John's recommendations are, always.
Right. Okay, Nicole.
Okay, Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes,
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Lentine, you have our approval. Good luck to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's hard work, and Nicole especially, I want to thank you for getting me through this. It's been a long time and I had no idea what I was doing, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Bill, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Okay,
very
good
much,
luck
sir.
to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, next we have
Thank you
Hal
all.
Glasser, block 10812, lot 5, 23 Cove Road.
This is a use
Applications
variance.
for existing items at the property consisting of a dock, boat lift, wave runner dock, and storage shed. Variance is being requested, etc. Is Mr. Glasser here? Is it somebody representing Mr. Glasser here?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hey, Bill, are these D
Hold
variants?
on.
Yes, these are D variances. Thank you.
These are
Yeah,
D
Hal
variants. All
Glasser,
right.
right
then.
there. Okay,
That's right.
Mr. Schindler and Mayor Francis will have to recuse themselves because this is a D variance.
Fine.
Mr.
we
Chairman.
recuse.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I will recuse myself.
Hold on a minute.
Okay,
And for the record, I will recuse myself too.
thank you very much. Mr. Glasser, is anybody going to be testifying on your behalf? Just you.
Just, there are 3 neighbors that will testify with me.
Well, are they actually testifying on your behalf, or are they going to make
They're
comments
support-
on the open portion?
They're supporting me.
Okay, then you and they have to raise your hands and be sworn in by Mr. Haggerty. Raise your right hand.
Anyone else? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
First, Mr. Glazer, your full name?
Hal Glasser?
Glasser, and are you the property owner?
Yes.
Okay, and we have someone else who raised her hand, and she kind of disappeared on me. I'm not sure who that was.
Sorry, I wasn't sure. I'm one of the neighbors that's supporting Mr. Glasser. I don't know if you need me to.
Okay, yes, and your name?
Mary
Yes.
Beth Mandela,
Mary Beth, spell your last name?
Lamend, as in delightful, ELLA.
Okay, very good. You were sworn in at the same time, Mr. Glasser. Mr.
Okay,
Glazer.
and there was somebody else, Bill.
Yes, hi.
Yes,
Hi.
My name is
yes.
Lorraine.
And do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And your name, please?
Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
And my last name is Toots, Tuths.
Okay, and I think there was a third person also.
We have another one too.
Yes.
Well, we did.
Sandy.
Okay.
Ron.
Okay. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be
Hold on.
the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And your full name?
Sandy Toronzi, TORONZI.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, Mr. Glasser, you're on.
Okay. So basically, I'm looking to get the variances approved for the conditions that exist on the property already. There's no additions being made. It's what is existing as of right now, being the boat lift, the wave runner lift, the dock that existed since I purchased the property, and the shed that's on the property.
Okay, and Mr. Glasser, were all of these things put there with permits?
No, they were not. The dock was existing before I bought the property. So I don't know if there are any permits for the dock itself.
Okay,
The wave runner dock and the boat lift, there were no permits for that.
okay. And I was over there today and I see you have 4 boats on the property. Are they all yours?
No. One is mine. One is a friend of mine's, and I believe 2 are Lorraine's.
Okay, and are you renting space or just allowing them to park there?
No, just allowing them to put them there for winter storage.
Okay. All right, what else do you need to tell us? Anything?
No, I don't believe there's anything else to tell you.
Okay. And your witnesses, do they have anything to tell us?
Other than the property is being utilized as any other property on the lake, it's not bothering the neighborhood. I mean, I'm not quite sure what it is that you're asking of us, but the bottom line is that it's being used the same as any other property in the neighborhood.
You support
I have a
So
question.
I support his request.
Okay.
Anthony, go ahead.
The neighbors that are testifying, are you local to that particular area of town?
I am. I'm 2 houses in.
I'm on 5 Cove.
We're
Okay.
Two of us
And
are both.
Mr. Glasser, where do you live?
I live 115 Lakeside Boulevard, which is basically across the street from the property. And when I purchased the house, the property was also sold with the house.
Okay.
What year was that?
Roughly about 2.5 years ago.
Now, I just want to make sure that I understand this because there's a floating dock attached to the dock that has been existing for quite some time, correct? And the floating dock is perpendicular to the existing dock against the seawall?
The floating dock.
The floating dock goes out into the water, correct?
Yes, but that was existing when I purchased the house.
The floating dock was?
Yes. The entire dock was existing before I purchased the house. The only thing I put there was the wave runner dock and the boat lift.
What about the shed?
And the shed, I'm sorry.
How big is the shed?
I think it's like an 8x10 shed. It's not very big. I don't remember exact measurements.
I don't even think it's that big when I walked the property.
And I think it's smaller, Hal.
Yeah, it might
think
be
it is
smaller.
Bill, do you have any records of permits being used dock in there by the past owner?
No, the only thing is in the file, there was an old copy of the survey, which is basically what we've worked from. The original survey showed the dock to the far right along the property line where the shed is up against the beach club. But there are no evidence of any permits for the docks or anything.
And how about the shed? How far from the property line is the shed?
Well, I was working off a drawing that Mr. Glasser provided, and I believe, let me find it. It's off the side and to the front property line. Let's see, to the front property line, I figured about 8 feet, but that's approximate because again, you know, the property lines aren't drawn out there for me to measure off of.
Right.
This is a remarkably old survey. It's a 1959 survey that's marked up, and the board would certainly be well within its discretion to ask for a location survey to show where this stuff really is, but that's up to the board.
Well, yeah, I would certainly like to see that.
I agree with that.
Well, Mr. Glasser, you have Mr. Rushke's letter. I think it was dated February 1st of 22. You have that, Mr. Glasser?
I probably have it somewhere.
Okay, and so the side yard setback should be depicted on the plot plan. And should the board favorably vote for this application, approval should be conditioned upon submission of an as-built plan. Do you have any objection to either of those?
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, in the technical review portion of Mr. Rushke's letter,
Okay.
numbers 2 and 3, 2 says the side yard setback should be depicted on the plot plan. And number 3 said, should the board vote favorably for this application, approval should be conditioned upon submission of an as-built plan.
I'm not sure what an as-built plan means.
You have to have a,
Chairman.
you have to have a
Yeah.
location survey to show where the improvements are.
Yeah, Chairman, I would just say that I do support the board's, request for a survey. I was certainly torn on this, trying to deem it complete with such an old survey. And I was really deferring to the board if they would request that. But certainly, in this case, a survey would be appropriate in order to show the proper setbacks and the existing improvements. And, certainly as a surveyor or as professionals can determine if in fact, has there been any the improvements or required DEP approval and such. So, certainly I would think it would be appropriate to update the survey. And that will address the as-built because the applicant is basically showing, what the improvements are.
Right.
What is item number 1? What is the extent of that and how does that influence the
Well, it's just highlight. I typically highlight, DEP regulations that fall under permit by rules and that they have to comply with all those permit requirements. And if they don't, then they need to actually apply for a permit. It's not under DEP regulations. If you comply with all the conditions permit by rule, you don't have to physically obtain a permit. You just have to comply with those conditions. So I usually put that in my reports just to make, applicants aware. And I usually attach, those requirements to the report too, so the applicants know exactly what those conditions are.
in his case, what would he have to do to comply with everything, be it there were no permits? What are the requirements of that he would have to do? Anything?
Yeah, a lot of it is land disturbance. When it's just talking about a dock, a lot of it is related to land disturbances that he's not, not supposed to have improvements within 25, other than the dock itself, have improvements within 25 feet of the edge of water and removing trees and other disturbances is typically what the limitation. So there's not a lot of conditions associated with, installing a dock.
So moving the shed back would be one of the things to make it more compliant?
Correct.
There's other issues too, minimum dock width, or the sideline requirements, correct, all that. I think there's not a lot of information here to go on.
No.
And normally there's no principal structure, so I don't know how we can allow structure on a lot without a principal structure.
Agree.
Yeah, we've done it before with access lots. It's a use variance. We've got the one that we handled last year that went on. That's the one we lost the tape on.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah, we just as part of a condition of approval, the board can also make sure that check the deeds to make sure that it is tied to another property so that it's not sold independently.
I would agree with that. I would require that.
We also like.
I'm not so sure. I like the all of those boats stored there. Makes it look rather messy.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead.
Defense, and because I do have a boat over there and 2 jet skis. So I live at 5 Cove Road. I am a lakefront. And if I had the room on my own property, I would store them here. But I don't. And Hal and I have been friends for many years. And he's been kind enough to let me keep my stuff over there for the winter. I mean, it's a non-buildable lot, and for no other reason that, I mean, what else can you use that lot for but to store stuff and use it in the summer? I mean, I've grown up on this lake my whole life. I grew up over in the Silver Springs area, and we've always had boats and watercrafts and stuff on our properties. It's lake living. That's just the way it is. I mean, I know the woman across the street she says it's an eyesore, but it's a lake. This is a lake community. That's what you get. You live on a lake, you have boats, you have personal watercrafts, you need a place to store them. And Hal has the space, and he's been kind enough and one of his other friends use it, and I'm grateful for that. But I don't see what the problem is. Is it that it's an eyesore? Because that I don't understand. It's a lake community. This is expected.
Well, there are lakes. There are eyesores, and then there are eyesores, and just the way that those boats are just randomly put on that lot, I don't think looks very good.
How many are on the lot, as well as how many boats? You said 4 boats?
4.
How many?
No, there's 3 boats and 2 Sea-Doos on a double trailer.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, it looked like a 4th boat.
But what's on the docks? When it all comes in for the winter, there, how many units?
There's nothing in the docks right now.
Nothing on the docks?
No.
How many boats are doing it summertime at the property?
What
I'm
was
sorry?
that again, Anthony?
How many boats are docked on the property during the summertime?
One boat and 2 wave runners.
Okay. I would like to understand a little bit more. Number one, how we deal with the minimum dock width. I don't know how long that floating dock has been on the property for.
I've only owned the property for about 2.5 years, and that was there prior to me purchasing the house.
Right, I think you mentioned that all the improvements that you made there outside of the dock, you didn't get any permits for make any applications for a variance?
No, I did not know I needed them.
Okay.
Okay, let me, any other questions from the board? Questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Glasser, is that wave runner dock, is that a portable one or is that attached to the dock? I couldn't tell when I walked the property.
It's portable.
It's portable. Okay, thank you.
And so is the boat lift.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, then let me open it up to the public. Would anybody from the public like to question or comment on this application? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and on the reactions, raise your hand.
I have an unidentified person here on an iPhone, so you're up. Oh, now she's on. There we go. You're muted. You're muted.
I unmuted.
Okay.
I live at 18 Cove Road. I'm the person that 5 Cove Road is referring to. I'd like to make one correction.
Wait,
to
whoa,
what-
whoa. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony
Yes.
you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And your name, please.
Milani Leitzel.
Spell your last name.
Leitzel.
Okay.
Where are you? There's several things. He's inaccurate with the amount of boats and wave runners during the summer. There is 1 to 2 boats that come in and out throughout the summer that pull in and out on that lot. And they come in all hours. So that therefore there would be 2 boats, 2 wave runners on the lot, 1 in the water and the 2 wave runners in the water, and 1 being pulled in and out on the land. The other thing is the 1 boat that is on the lot was pulled down this year, and that has been up on Mr. Glasser's property up on Lakeside, along with the travel trailer. I have lived here for numerous years before Mr. Glasser, and when the property was sold, it was sold as an unbuildable lot with a dock that was available for 1 boat that was in the sale. Since he's been here for the 2.5 years, it's increased in the amount of boat storage and the amount of traffic on that piece of lot pulling in and out, sometimes blocking my driveway and sometimes utilizing my driveway and right beside my driveway. So I understand the dock has been there. It's been there as long as I've been here. I don't have a problem with that. The previous owner also had a Tupperware little tiny shed that he kept a lawnmower in. But it seems to be that this lot is getting more and more use, more and more. There's a generator that's been used down there. The outflow to the sewer or to the drainage goes right there. And it's also, all that excess is also going into the lake.
Okay, thank you.
How do I
Well,
vote?
Sandy Toronzi.
Yes, hi.
You want to raise your right hand, please, and be sworn in by
Yeah,
our
she's been
attorney.
sworn. Yes, she's been sworn. You're reminded you're still under oath.
Oh,
But you're
okay.
muted.
Sandy, you're
You're
muted.
muted.
I already did that, but I'll do it again.
No, you did. You're
Okay, go
okay.
ahead. You,
I live on 5 Vale Way. I've been here for about 10, 11 years. I'm part of Ingram's Cove Beach Club for the same about 10 or 11 years. I have a boat that I keep there. And, you know, this property has been there since I've been here. Mr. Glasser, you know, purchased it, you know, 2.5 years ago. We've pulled boats in and out, you know, of our slip at Ingram's Cove. There's been, you know, no obstruction. I've not seen anything crazy going on other than he's a boater, right? Like most of us are here on Lake Hopatcong. And I'm glad the property is being used. You know, I'm glad that he has boats. And if we're talking about eyesores, I have 2 monstrosities that live across from me that are terrible. So if it's about eyesores, then I really think we need to evaluate and we need to take a look at what's here in Hopatcong. So I'm in full support of this. And again, this is everything that's just existing. No, it didn't
Okay,
exist.
thank you very much. Mary Beth, you're next.
Yes. Hi,
You've
thank
already
you.
been sworn in.
I have been sworn in. Further to Sandy's comments, I live at 17 Lawrence, which is basically across the street from Sandy. And yes, the house that is right up next to me, you want to talk about eyesores. They have boats that haven't been moved in ages. They have construction and crap in the backyard that I see rodents running around. So if we want to talk about eyesores, I really think that perhaps we ought to look at the laws and what's going on. I completely agree. I'm a member of the Ingram Cove Beach Club. Not only are there no obstructions to that, there've never been any cars or trucks or anything blocking the Ingram Cove Beach Club. And Hal has been a very generous and kind neighbor, helping all of us, even in the beach club, get boats in and out. And make sure that we can all enjoy the lake as proper boaters and be kind to one another. So I am in full support of leaving everything exactly the way it is. He has been nothing but a very courteous boater and courteous neighbor.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Winfield, you're next. You haven't been sworn in, so raise your hand. And Mr. Haggerty will swear you in.
Yes. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your full name, sir?
Roy Winfield,
And Mr. Winfield, where do you live?
25 Cove Road, which is next property right next to this, the Hal's property.
Okay.
Okay, sir, what do you have to say to us?
All right, we've been here around 50 years. And when we moved here, the fellow that owned that property, he owned the 7-Eleven in Ledgewood. And he had a little tiny wooden dock with a 16-foot boat there. When he moved, he sold the house to Howie Baker. And Baker never used the dock. He never had a boat. And it just ended up disintegrating. And then a fellow built a new house up the street and he asked Baker if he could rent the lot. So Baker rented the lot to him and he put that floating dock on around 9 or 10 years ago. That's all that was there. There was nothing else there. The year before Baker sold the lot in the house, he did put a little Rubbermaid thing for his lawnmower because he had tired of walking it up and down the street. But otherwise, there's nothing been on that lot all these years that we've been here. The people all around the cove, they usually store their boats because they like to have their property look decent. This is like a boat storage place over here. I mean, it's a terrible looking thing. And the 2 people here that liked it, Mary Beth, I mean, she loves it because she's keeping her wave jammer there, her jet ski there. And the other lady, Lorraine, they've been unbelievable because her and her husband bring this boat during the summer in and out, middle of the night, waking my family up. I mean, they're unbelievable. It's not like they just leave it there for the winter. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What else do I want to say here? I mean, Hal's a nice guy, but you know, he started out with the electric boat hoist. Well, that's a big unit. Then he put the jet ski thing there, you know, and then he let all these people dock there. Of course, they're going to stick up for him because they're docking their boats there in the summertime and leaving their crap in the wintertime. You know, so we have to. They're not looking at it. She lives on the other side of the cove. I mean, she's got room in front of her house, but she's not docking her boat there. She doesn't want to look at it. She wants me to look at it. So that's the problem.
Okay, do you have anything else to say, Mr.
Do I have
Winfield?
anything else to say? No, I think that's what?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, I see an iPhone. I don't know whose it is, but there's there. Oh,
Sorry, it's me again. I
That's
also
okay.
think Hopatcong has an ordinance 242-571 that 5 or more boats constitutes a marina.
yes.
So he would technically have 5 watercrafts on that property at this time, 2 wave runners and 3 boats, which would constitute a marina.
That's interesting.
But they're not in the water.
We'll run that one past.
It doesn't
Mr.
say in the
Haggerty.
water. It says on their property.
He's right.
Okay, so that constitutes a marina.
It
And we
seems
aren't
there's a,
zoned
like,
for
there's a lot going on a little piece of property, you know,
I agree.
I can sympathize with Mr. Winfield. I mean, it looks like a marina, you know, like a boat storage yard.
One of
That's
the,
just,
Residential area.
And
One of-
like Mr. Winfield said, the people supporting him, the Mary Beth and Lorena, they have watercrafts on there. So of course they would support
Right.
him, because if they don't support him, then they're going to have to either find another place for their watercrafts or pay for them to be someplace else.
I do not store my watercraft in the off season at Mr.
Okay, well, let's, we're not gonna have a type of
This-
a back and
It's
forth
not a
here.
debate.
Let's bring it back to the board. I
Board.
think we have all. the
Anthony, you
testimony.
had
Is there
something you
anybody
wanted to
else who
comment
wants
on.
one of
who
the,
wants to testify of anything else? Mr.
Yeah.
Ronson?
Anthony,
yes.
you've been trying to talk forever.
That's okay. One of them mentioned that the property was sold with the provision that there would be only one boat on the dock. Does that factor into?
No, it's not a deed restriction, and these, whether it was in a listing agreement or whatever, that doesn't control, unless it's in a deed restriction, that really wouldn't have a bearing.
Should we look at that?
If it's in a listing agreement, I don't think so.
If it's
I
in,
don't put a lot of weight in that, but we can ask whether there's any deed provision. Apparently, there's no tying of this property to any other property.
Well, it's tied to Mr. Glasser's other property. He
It's
said
not really,
Well,
it's
it was conveyed with it. It doesn't mean
Right.
it's
not tied to it
restricted so that
legally,
it
it's
can
two
not be-
separate deeds.
right.
I pay taxes on both pieces of property separately.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, but I can take one of the boats off. I didn't know there was any type of rule restriction for 5. So taking one, boat off is not a problem. Actually, one's going to go very soon anyway.
Okay. All right.
What's the max that you've ever had?
You wanted to say something else?
I do have a question. What's the max you've ever had on the property of boats?
Right, whatever's there right now.
And you can launch from this property?
No, you can't launch. No, you can't launch from the property. There's no ramp.
Okay, just ask.
The ramp is for the
wave runner?
The yacht club or the beach club. The beach club has a ramp of their own.
Okay.
All right, let's let Ms. Ronzi say what she wanted to say, and then I'm going to bring it back to the board. Ms. Ronzi.
Yes, thank you. I was just going to say, I'm in support of Mr. Glasser, and I do not store my boats, on his property. I store it at Lakes and Marina. I have a boat slip that I've paid for the past 10 years at Ingram's Cove. So I'm just in favor of, people that are doing good for the lake and boaters. I just.
Thank
wanted to
you.
comment on that. Thank you.
Okay, let me bring it back to the board. Anybody else from the board want to ask any other questions or make any other comments?
I think we got a lot going on a small residential area. And I think it's just brought shine to itself, regardless of what other events take it good that people don't like. What happens to that neighborhood area? So you got boats coming and going at off hours. You got boats stored there, and like other properties, objecting to just mass storage uncontrolled.
I think what we need to do is get back to the original application. And from my point of view, I'd like to see, I don't want to call it as built, but we need to have a survey of what's actually there. And we're all over the map of what's there, what's not there, what was there before he moved there, what was permitted, all this other stuff. Let's get back to the basics and find out what is there, period. I don't think we can move forward without knowing that.
And I just think it's a small residential lot that's just being way overused. I mean, if he was using it for his own personal, his boat storage and that's it, that's a different story. I mean, this is I would be a little aggravated too if I lived in a neighborhood and had to look at that. I mean, personally.
Yeah, I think Mr. Tappan is correct. You really should have a survey. It should show the width of the dock, the width of the runner dock. It should show the location of that shed, the dimension of the shed, so that you have something you can work with. What you've been provided isn't really not.
Yeah, we have no
sufficient.
basis.
Yeah, we don't have anything to go from.
We'd have
have
no
a
point of reference.
survey that was done in the 20s, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does somebody want to make a motion? Or
I'll
a
make a
suggestion?
I'll make a
Is
motion.
the motion for continuance?
Yeah,
Okay,
get a survey done. And if
Done and
Mr.
submitted?
Glass would like to bring this back to the board, let's get a survey done, get things tightened up so we can see what's going on and make a fair and decisive decision.
Mr. Glasser, that survey is going to show the shed location, the dimensions of the shed, the dock length, the width of the dock, and wave runner dock too. It's going to show location of all those because the board cannot or should not approve this because it very well may be that something on that property is not within your property boundaries. So we want to see what's going on there.
I can draw out for you, or I have to pay?
No. You absolutely cannot draw it out unless you're a licensed surveyor. It has to be a licensed surveyor.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, I'm not convinced yet that he hasn't flagged a DEP permit. I don't know. I just don't know. I have no point of reference or datum point to make a decision on. I get it. People like to store boats, and I get that and all that. I'm fine. That doesn't, it's about where we're at with this application and what we need to do to approve it.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention any.
Glasser, how much we can continue this. When would you like to continue it? How
I
much
guess
time do you
find
think you would
out.
need to get a survey done?
I have no idea, how long it'll take to do a survey.
Mr. Glasser, why don't we carry it for a month? And if you can't get a survey done within that time, you will notify the board that you have not been able to get a survey done within the board. And at that time, you can ask for another extension. That way you won't have to notify all the owners again and put it in the paper.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then our next, let's see, that would be
Uh,
April. The second Tuesday of April would be the 19th.
Chairman,
Yes.
we are full on the 19th. Because I had to push a lot of our applicants off because of what our next meeting consists of.
Right.
So I don't have room until May 3rd as of right
Okay, Mr. Glasser, do you have any objection to our continuing this until May 3rd?
Nope, not a problem. Yes.
Okay, then,
Gotta be.
okay, Mark, do you want to make the motion to continue until May 3rd?
That sounds good. Yes, sir.
And who's going to second that?
Second,
Okay,
Was that Duncan for the second?
I didn't
Yes.
catch.
I'm frozen. Can you guys hear me?
Now,
Okay,
Wow.
sorry. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yeah,
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Tappan,
yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
yes. Okay, Mr. Glasser, you're continued until May 3rd. And
Okay.
as Mr. Haggerty said, if you can't get a survey done by then, contact Nicole and we'll take care of it. Okay?
Yep, will do.
Thank you very much. And we have one more new application. Robert Scabetti, block 30702, lot 16, 52 West River 6 Road. The applicant would like to renovate and construct a second floor addition to the residence boathouse, a dock extension, an exterior staircase, etc. Variances are listed. Is Mr. Scabetti here or somebody representing?
Yes,
him?
I'm right here. Can you hear me, Councilman?
Yes, I can. And is anybody going to be testifying with you?
Yes, I have Mr. Steve Bias, who's my architect on this project.
Okay, do you want to both raise your hands, please, and be sworn in by Mr. Haggerty?
Mr. Bias?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And Mr. Scabetti, state your full name,
Robert Scabetti,
spell your last name,
SCI, B as in boy, ETTI.
and you're the property owner?
Correct.
And Mr. Bias, you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, sir.
Your license is current and you've testified before this board in the past, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. Whoever is going to provide the beginning of the testimony, Mr. Bias. I assume.
I'll begin first.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm back on.
Okay, and how about Mr. Schindler?
Yes,
Okay,
I am here also.
good.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, and councilmen and board members. My name is Robert Scabetti, and I'm the owner of 52 West River Styx Road, the property before you this evening. This property is a very unique residence. Some of you may know about it. It consists of a boathouse at the basement level with a living space above. The boathouse is below grade and does not have any usable space with the exception of the electrical service and sewer pump. The living space above is partially below grade as well. We're here tonight to seek necessary variances to renovate and construct a second floor addition, which will incorporate a new front entry at grade level and a new exterior staircase and a dock extension. There is currently a freestanding roof deck behind the house, approximately 20 feet by 16 feet. This deck is being removed from the site, and there is currently a shed with electric approximately 8 feet by 9 feet, which we want to remain on the site. That's basically what we want to do, and if any questions that I can answer, I will, or the architect, Steve, here as well.
Okay, Mr. Scabetti, is it, do you have city water and sewer over there?
No, I have city sewer and well, and a new well will be installed.
Okay. Questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Scabetti, do you have Mr., are you in receipt of Mr. Rushke's letter and technical review?
Yes, I am.
Could we let Mr. Bias, Steve, describe the structure and what's done to the structure, since it's a rather large undertaking? What's happening to the structure? What's being trashed? What's being, redone? There's a lot going on that property down there.
Sorry, Mr. Duncan, were you addressing that to me?
Yes, sir.
Great. I think Mr. Scabetti did a fantastic job introducing his intention and what's out there. As he mentioned, it's a terraced site that is very unique in its shape and its overall configuration. We're dealing mainly with the portion that is down at the lakeside. There's a series of retaining walls that are overgrown. There's a series of concrete and stone steps. They're set up somewhat in disrepair and overgrown. There's that elevated platform. So all of this we're trying to either repair, remove and replace, or just plain abandon. So what we have there now is a concrete dock and platform that sets up your entry to what used to be I believe, a cantilevered dock. You could see 2 pilings and 2 steel beams. So at one time there was a concrete bulkhead and dock / platform that extended out into the lake and was attached to this somewhat abandoned steel structure. So we could get into the dock afterwards. The boathouse basically consists, I have an existing condition drawing in my set. It's identified as EC, existing conditions, EC1. That shows the 2 basic floor plans, the one at the grade level, which includes the boat slip, a small storage area, and other support spaces for the boathouse. And then above that, you'll see the drawing of the existing floor plan, which consists of a bedroom at the front. There's a living room in the middle that had a wood stove chimney in it, 2 small bedroom areas. There's a bathroom with a shower. So you have a toilet, a sink, and a shower. And then there's an existing kitchen within the existing wood frame structure. So some of the issues with the structure are that it's the lakeside at the lower level is half concrete and stone and then half wood. And the ceiling height in there is less than 7 feet 6. So it's at a very minimum ceiling height. It's great when you're in the boat, but certainly when you're trying to exit the boat or walk around that area, 7.6 doesn't give you much room to maneuver. The structure above that, the living structure, the plate height there is roughly 7 feet, and it slopes up to just over 8 feet at the center of the span. So what we're intending to do is remove the existing wood frame structure from the existing foundation up, increase the height of the existing foundation by a couple of block horses, and then reconstruct 2 wood frame floor levels above that existing floor area of the first floor. We're going to be increasing the floor area. We're going to increase the width of the building from 16 feet to 18 feet. The ceiling heights would be, as noted on the proposed drawings, I believe it's A4, which shows the building elevations. So we would have our new the new first floor level would be 9 feet, and then the upper floor level would be a ceiling height of 10 feet. So that's the only increase in the basic footprint of the building, is we're adding roughly 7 feet on the land side or the street side of the property, so that we can create a new staircase that would access the 2 primary living levels, the upper level and then the lower level. To get to the dock level or the boathouse level, you would have to go down a set of new stairs, just traverse or descend along, similar to the existing concrete stairs, but we would probably create a new steel staircase to get down to that level. Beyond that, we're proposing a flat roof so that we do not block any of the adjacent views. Now, there's a portion of that upper level that we call an attic. That's to, the purpose of that with the roof structure was to provide a bit of shaded area and to enclose any of the air handlers that we would have to condition the spaces below. I noticed Mr. Donegan noted that there's a height variance or a height concern. On my drawing, there's a dimension of 41 feet. That takes us from the concrete dock level to the highest point of that proposed attic flat roof, right? That's 41 feet. That is higher than the 35 feet allowed, but that was not intended to be the building height. The building height is really, according to your ordinance, it's the average grade plane to the highest point. And when you do that calculation, the building height is 30 feet. It's right around 30 feet. I could send you those calculations, or I could graphically depict that on a revised set, but the building height, the actual building height is therefore below what is allowed at 35 feet. Aside from that, we have a couple lakeside or waterside balconies that we're including. And then the only other addition would be a small platform at the highest part of the site where you come in from the sidewalk area. And that would be an entry platform into the front door that would essentially take you into the stair tower or give you the opportunity to climb back up onto that roof area. Now, I would just like to note that the roof area that's proposed is the only recreational space that we would have on the property. As you can see from the site plan or the surveys, any open areas is limited to that section of the property, which already contains a shed. So it's a very small area. We try to make use of the roof deck to provide a bit more of a passive recreational availability there, and really try to minimize our footprint on this site. That Mr. Duncan takes care of the building description.
Okay.
Mr. Vise, how many square feet is this home?
So,
Living space?
okay, so the existing, I'll do that exactly. The existing floor area was roughly 700 feet, 705 square feet was the existing floor area. Our proposed, let's call it first floor, is at 860. And then the second floor is at 943. That would, the increase is the additional 2-foot cantilever. And then on the main level, it's the staircase. And then on the upper level, it includes the staircase and a little bit of an entry foyer. So that's roughly 700. Well, I could add it up, 1,800 square feet.
You're going from 800 to 1,800 on the property. Have that right?
Right, from 705 to roughly 1,800.
You're more than doubling it, almost 2.5 times.
Right,
What does that attic area consist of? What, I mean, I see you have a door off the, is that a full room up there? What is
that would really, that's just for the mechanical unit. You know, when you have an air handler in your own attic, that's all that would be for. We would have the air handler, you know, for the heating system and the air conditioning system in that space.
I believe part of it is a raised area too for the staircase, so it's really not usable except for an air handler.
That's correct. Thanks, Bob. Only half of it is full height. The other half is the 4 feet above that staircase.
Oh, we have a roof deck there, correct?
Pardon me?
There's a roof deck up there, correct?
Correct, yeah. We did that.
You said before that you weren't gonna block anybody's view, but now I have a giant shear wall in the house to the left. He's gonna just see a whole side of that house. Those are huge flat elevations. Aside from the fact, how do you propose to build it without going on the other guy's property to build it? You're on the line.
Shows that the second floor is, even with your proposed, is over the line. I don't know if that's that where you have that little jog in the back corner. It shows that it's still over the line.
Yeah, there's no portion of the proposed structure that would be over the property line. Mr. Duncan is familiar with zero lot line construction, so I'm sure we'd be able to manage a fire rated construction along that wall. And we have to repair, I mean, half of it's existing already, so in order to repair what's already there, you know, you would obviously have to access, you know, that side of the neighbor's property to do anything on that. That's one of the features of this property. Clearly, it's very limited. It's been, I can't remember, Mr. Shabetti has the date on when this was built, but it was used as a single family residence before. So the use is not unfamiliar to the site. We've tried to keep it to a minimum. Essentially, we're adding another floor to make this house livable and usable. But it is consistent with some of the boathouses down in that area with regard to a two-story structure. And we didn't want to use a gabled roof to further impede any of the views. So we did the best we can with that.
I think the structure though is going to impede both homes on each side from any kind of view. I mean,
I think, Steve, if you could, I'm looking at the most recent survey, which shows the two-family dwelling to the right and the two-family dwelling to the left. The grade difference between those and the roof of the house, they're over 20 feet higher than the roof line of the house.
Yeah,
the two dwellings, the two-family dwelling to the left and the two-family dwelling to the right.
Right, we're way below the hill. You could, Mr. Shabetti, if you could refer to my A4, you would see that the houses that are further up the slope, back in a normal situation, in a normal condition where they're up at the top of this grade, you know, they're far and above. Their view is far above this boathouse. It's, you know, this boathouse is somewhat nestled down into the slope. As a matter of fact, from the existing, where we would start to descend down to the level of the lake, it's 25 feet just along those steps. So the conditions and the terraces already make up for 25 feet. We're just trying to work within that. The existing house is far below the level of the adjacent slopes and the adjacent properties. You can see it behind Mr. Shabetti. His background is the lake view of that house. And you can see that it sits down, it's literally right down, because this whole cove, this River Styx Cove area, there's great slopes on both sides. So to have a house nestled down adjacent to the lake like this, really, not that I could see, I've been out there many times, I don't think it would have any effect on the adjacent properties view, and they would be lateral views. So we would have to discuss the lateral view versus the head-on lake view that you have in most cases.
I'd like to just bring one thing up, if I may. The house to the left, looking at the lake, is hasn't been used recently, but in speaking to the owner, to the house of the right before he recently sold it, that house has been in his family for a very long time, and their deck is the only thing that is going to be close to the actual house itself. And he verbally spoke to the woman who owns it.
We can't.
Okay, but let me just say this, and the other house on the right is a recently purchased house as well, and he'll be moving ahead to try to fix his house as well. So it's a recent sale on the house to the right.
We just got a lot of overdevelopment here. I mean, this lot was carved out, I don't know when, 100 years ago?
I think back in 1907.
1907, they carved this out for our problem today. When you have a lot like this. What's the square footage of the total lot?
3,900.
What is
How
it?
much?
3,900 square feet. 30.
Just under 4,000.
It's a lot of development on a very small lot, and it's right on the property line. I mean, you got a 30-foot wall right on the property line. I mean, we're trying
Actually, what's there is probably going on that property line. The rear 10 feet towards the lake is exposed. The other is actually in the slope itself. So what we'll be doing there is construction necessary to satisfy the neighbor The neighbor, I don't believe there'll be any obstruction. I mean, I can't tell you the elevations, my architect is here, but I can tell you this. You know, a lot of thought, a lot of planning, everything that could be required. We want to keep the lake pristine. We're using extensive stilt fencing to stop any type of runoff. We have, if it was a septic system, I would understand your concern, but this is a city sewer. All I want to do as a homeowner is make a viable residence for myself and my family for my lifetime going forward. As it stands now, this was something that worked in the 1920s to 1950s. I just want to bring it up to today's standard. What we're actually building, if you reviewed the plans, is a 2-bedroom house. The floor directly above the boathouse will house 2 bedrooms and 2 beds. And the addition will house a living room, a kitchen, and a dining room. The square footage under 2,000 square feet, that's not large by today's standard. I guess, you know, a lot of people come before this board, I'm sure, with a lot more square footage than that.
But we're
So I wish the
looking at a
board would
lot,
take
we're
that
looking
into
at a lot of other
consideration.
variances here, sir.
Yes,
Looking
I
at
understand. Well, what, can we go through the variances? Maybe I
We haven't
can.
even gone through them yet.
Okay.
I mean, the interesting thing is, Bill Donegan, we have a house, we have a boathouse that's a primary residence. The houses to the left and right, the primary residence is uphill, obviously, but it's not the boathouse. What does it mean when the boathouse is the only primary residence on a property in our ordinances?
Yeah, no, truthfully, I concentrated on that. I mean, is this an accessory structure? Is it a primary structure? And I would defer to Mr. Haggerty on that. I think.
It's primary structure.
It's
You know,
primary.
I live in a lake community, and to my left on the other shoreline, there's a house that's built over a boathouse. The area for the boats to pull in is directly under the house. It's still a house. It doesn't become 2 structures. It's one structure. It's a house. It just happens to have a boathouse under it, or a boat docking facility under it. So that is a primary structure, and it is a house.
It makes sense. I mean, a normal house has the garage underneath it. You know, it's not a detached garage with living space. So,
All right, well, let's go through the variances.
So I guess the best way to go through that is the outline in Mr. Rushton's report, where he has the variances listed. One is the side yard setback. We're the side yard setbacks. As you can see, it's a very unusual site. So we're increasing the, let's call it the east side by 2 feet because of the projection. I guess that's the best way to describe that. When he refers, Mr. Donegan, if he could assist me, I'd appreciate it. The rear yard setback, 20 foot required, zero existing. I'm guessing that would be on the lake side.
correct.
So the only addition we're doing on that is the extension of a balcony, which goes from the existing face of the existing building or that line into the towards the lake. So that would be that variance. The number 3 is the 2.5 stories or 35 foot maximum allowed. I just explained that actual height, and I'll back it up with the calculation graphically if you need it. The actual height is at 30 feet. 2.5 stories is permitted. I don't believe that the lowest level here counts as a story. Number 4, the extension into the waterway. That's the proposed new dock area, I believe. So we already, the existing steel pilings and steel beams are at 17 feet from the concrete bulkhead. We like to reconstruct that and then go out another 23 feet and create that little 12 by 10 section of the dock at the end. Dock side yard setback. We're not making any modifications to the, well, I guess that would be the new dock. So a description of that dock is for number 5. Number 6 is the length. I don't know where we're getting 52 feet. I see 40, so I don't know where that 52 foot number is.
Would be probably from the shoreline, not the existing dock, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's from the right of way. I don't know, Bob, if you could weigh in on that one, Mr. Shabetti. I don't know where the 52 foot is proposed. I have 40 feet.
I believe they're talking linear footage, going 40 feet out and 12 feet across gives you a linear footage of a dock of 52 feet. Has nothing to do with extension, has to do with running feet along two sides of the dock.
In my review, it wouldn't be that way. That would get to be the shape of an irregular dock, and that would be a different section of the ordinance. In my review, I would try to make a determination where the shoreline is and go out perpendicular to the end of the dock.
Mr. Donegan, was this one of your, I just want to go back because we had a list. Was that one of your, the length for number 6, was that one of your comments?
No, that's Mr. Rushkey.
Mm-hmm. So maybe, I'm sorry, John, I don't know what that's referring to.
I'm sorry, now I got you. I didn't hear what was the last half a minute or so.
That was John Rushkey, not Bill.
Mm-hmm.
John, do you know what that 52?
Yeah, no, I'm having a hard time reading the plan on my computer here.
I found it. I think I found it. This one was dock length, 25 foot max. Our existing is 27 feet, and we're going to 52 feet. So Mr. Shabetti was in the range of that. So I'm guessing that you take the linear footage of all sides or two sides, which would be the 40 feet projection, and then the 12 feet across the face.
No, that goes to number 8.
Okay, then I don't know what it is then.
Well, okay, let's just move on from there.
Okay, we can get back to that. Then number 8 is the max.
But you know, I guess the issue is that you're reading off of my letter, but it's your application, or you should be verifying, you know, all the variances that you're requesting.
Well, Mr. Rushkey, with all due respect, I'm taking that from Mr. Donegan's report. So I'm trying to. I didn't do
But you should be doing you should be doing an independent analysis of your own property and determining what the variances you requested. And Bill and I checked. We don't determine your variances. You need to, have your, present it yourself.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the property? You looked at the ordinance, and are you presenting it yourself, or you just relying?
I'm responding. No, of course I am. I'm responding to Mr. Donegan's description of the variances required. Right. Well, we're doing our best to do that.
Okay, well, I have a question for Bill Haggerty.
Yes.
If you look down at number 9, Bill, existing boathouse currently has living space, which is not permitted, which is proposed to be expanded.
No. I view this as a house. This is a residence that would have a boathouse underneath it. It's not a boat.
It's not a boathouse?
Existing boathouse, okay, hold on, let me grab that.
I'm just asking if the mayor and Mr. Schindler have to recuse themselves, if it's a C or D.
Let's take a look at that ordinance. 4230, okay.
If it was always a primary residence, it was never a boathouse. It's a residence with boat parking under it, as I understand it. Is that correct, Bill?
Yeah, that's what I'm 30C8. What do we got here?
So we keep talking about a boathouse, but it's really the primary residence. So stop saying boathouse and say residence, because that's my understanding of this, going back to when it was built. It was always a house, unless I'm missing something.
242-30C. I don't think the site is correct there. 242-30C8. That's not the section. Let me see. Yeah, that's not a correct site. Let me see if I can find it.
Are you looking for the definition of the boathouse Is that what you're,
Well, yeah, it's cited here under this section as 242 30.C8. That's not the correct
Okay.
site. Let me just see. If we can find it here.
While he's looking for that, Mr. Bias, why don't you go
It's,
continue with
yeah, I
number
think it was
8?
D. Yeah, D4. I mean D8. There should be no
Yeah.
living accommodation or cooking toilets in any boat.
Yeah.
I guess I can,
Yeah.
based on the testimony, I can appreciate, calling this a house versus a boathouse.
Yeah,
If that's,
I think we can take that position, that it's not a boathouse with living quarters. It's a house. It's the primary. It's a house.
yeah, it certainly is a unique,
Okay. Okay, so then number 9 doesn't mean anything. But let's go back to number 8, Mr. Bias. Irregular.
Okay, number 8, maximum size of regular shaped dock, 50 feet, max allowable. 62 is proposed. So that refers to number 10 in your ordinance. So the cumulative linear feet shall not exceed 50 feet of your dock area. Okay, so we're 40, 52, so we're over by 50 feet less than what it is. Let's see, 12 feet proposed.
Well, 12, yeah.
Right, so we have a dimension. You're gonna have to do it geometrically, but there's a dimension of 12 feet that is beyond what is allowed.
Right.
And I could get back to that with a different organization of that, but essentially it's the linear footage along each surface of the dock. Now the maximum size, so we did that, and then the existing boathouse did that. Number 10, the deck on boathouse setback, 5-foot setback required, 2 feet proposed. 9. I guess that would be the extension over the pier, over the water.
Well, we're not considering it a boathouse any longer. We're considering it a house now.
Okay. So I guess we would have to,
but the house is partially out over the water.
Right.
So the part, it's still a dock underneath it. I mean, I would think it's still a dock underneath the boathouse, the house, let's keep calling it the
Yeah,
house.
so a dock. Yeah. Mhm.
right.
I mean, it's definitely a hybrid. It and maybe it doesn't fit everything exactly.
That's the entire issue with this entire piece of property. So the remainder is in regard to, I guess, the bulk areas, the lot area, 15,000 square feet required. We have 3,983 square feet. The lot width 120 is required. Ours is 25 feet, the existing. Side yard setback to accessory shed. There still is a shed in that corner. That was existing. That's an existing shed. We had no intentions to modify that. 4 feet required, 1.18 proposed. That's existing. Lot coverage. This is an important one here. The lot coverage, 20% allowable. 23.38 is existing, and we're decreasing the lot coverage.
How are you decreasing? What's being removed to decrease lot coverage?
Well, we have that it's called the roof deck or deck roof, the large platform on the highest part of the property, which is upslope, that overlooks the existing structure. We have that in the adjacent concrete. There's some concrete pads associated with that. It's just an unusual area there. So
Okay.
there is a net decrease by that. Number 5 is your distance from lake, 50 feet required, 0, because we're right at it. That's an existing condition. We're not, I guess, in the sense that our balconies may be making that worse by 2 feet. And then the only other one, the last one, is number 6, retaining wall setback from property line, 5 feet required, 0 feet exists. So as Mr. Shabetti mentioned, and I'm sure many of you have been out there, The east side of the property is really a retaining wall that works its way down in terraces and is actually part of the foundation of the boathouse structure itself. On the right-hand side, we have a combination of concrete and stone steps and a retaining wall that works its way down along that property line as well. So in either case, the stairs can be seen as a retaining wall, and the other side is obviously a retaining wall. Those are both existing conditions, and we'll probably, we're definitely proposing to improve both of them. I believe that covers the majority of your variances that we're asking for. Most of them, as you can see, are associated with the existing conditions.
Okay, and you have the technical review as well, so that's.
Right, so the technical review, I resubmitted the plans, adding the elements that were missing on my end. Mr. Tom Graham from the engineering group of Dykstra Walker, unfortunately had a previous commitment and Tom couldn't make it tonight, but Tom submitted a soil erosion and sediment control plan, and I believe that Mr. Rushke's office received that, and I assume that that met his request for this information.
Okay.
So I got a question. Lot usage, you're saying 23% is being used?
I don't know what that means, lot usage, what does that mean?
Land coverage, you got 3,900 feet, you're saying 23% was being used by the structure?
Yes.
What about coverage when you consider all the asphalt on the walkway, all the steel steps?
All right, so I'll, if you want me to run the numbers down for you, I will. The existing driveway is 750 square feet. The walkway is 535 square feet. Now the stairs, the wood, and the concrete to the dock are 170. The dwelling footprint is 730. The concrete exposed area that is outside of the boathouse is 220. The shed is 65, and the deck, the existing the existing elevated deck on the south side is roughly 300.
That's a large number.
So I mean, it's probably easier to just do. Yeah, so that's that.
Wooden stairs and decks do not compute in lot coverage. They're pervious.
Yeah, no, let me look at this here.
Proposed steel and concrete staircase,
I'm sorry?
where it says proposed steel concrete staircase, that's not considered part of coverage, Mike?
If they're wooden stairs or a deck, it's not considered pervious coverage. It's considered pervious, not impervious. So lot coverage typically is impervious coverage. And so wooden steps and docks, or decks, I'm sorry, and decks are considered pervious. So they're not in the lot coverage computation and shouldn't be.
But an asphalt paved driveway and paved walkway,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
all that is, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I believe underneath the wooden steps are existing concrete steps that were in disrepair. So in order to sell the house, the realtor had these makeshift pressure treated stairs put in to access the house. But the actual steps underneath the wood stairs is a concrete staircase going down in disrepair.
That would be pervious. That would be considered lot coverage.
Right.
That's impervious.
Which is my point.
This one might be easier to figure out what's not covered.
Yeah.
Kind of.
There's not much that isn't covered.
But still, I think the issue here is I'm listening to everything and trying to translate what we're saying. So we have a dock goes back to the early 1900s or a piece of property. That the house is really a house with boats underneath it, and we think it's a boathouse, but it's really the primary residence. And it's a modest primary residence. I don't know, 900 square feet. And as I see it, the property owner wants to add another 800 to make another, how many houses we get there are less than 2,000 square feet. That is not a major development. It's a lot different because you're improving the size, but when you look at it relative to everything else, it's still modest. A 2,000 square foot house is a modest house, no matter which way you look at it, and no matter which way you get there. I have more issue with the dock issue. The house is the house, and everything we're looking at is pre-existing, non-conforming, except the dock. I think I would be more focused on the dock and saying, what do you need that kind of dock for? Not saying, what do you need to make a slightly modest house a little bit more modest? I think that's kind of my opinion, a waste of time because, but again, when we get to the lake issues, I think the dock is, and making a bigger dock is more of an issue to me than add another story onto what's already a small house that's been there since the early 1900s. I just, that's how I understand this application. Am I too far off, Bill?
I see two issues. One, you're overbuilding the house and a small lot. Two, you're sticking a large dock out into a narrow area. River Styx in that area is a narrow waterway. If you look at the docks, left and right, this towers over it.
May I just speak a minute, please?
Let me finish.
Oh, I do. Okay.
You're adding, with that elevation, you're theoretically adding a third floor. I know you want to call it an air handling equipment room, but it's a third floor.
How is it a third floor? It doesn't meet it doesn't even match the definition of a habitable story.
House. Look
Pardon
at
me?
the side elevation. It's a third floor there. It's one giant shear wall.
Well, I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to challenge you, but a story, we got to be very clear in calling it another story. It doesn't meet your definition of story. So I just want to, I just want to understand it the way you do.
There's a space up there and there's a deck up there. There's a living level. If it's a deck up there, that's the roof. It's a roof deck, correct? And there's an area, a living area inside of it, whether it's mechanical or something else. It's still a living area.
Well, with all due respect, I have to work with the definitions in your ordinance and in the building code, and that doesn't match the definition for a story.
Well, I feel it does, and I think it's also, regardless of the heights, I think it's a giant shear wall that both neighbors are going to just see a giant flat wall with windows punched in it.
May I just speak a moment, please, as a homeowner? First and foremost, we did a 200 feet request for any homeowners to be present tonight for any objections. And I'm also privy to know that I believe Councilman and May will agree that when somebody buys a house on the lake, there is no guarantee they're going to have a view. However, in this case, they are going to have a view with no obstruction. And I believe the mayor brought up a very good point about the deck. And I am very easy to try to negotiate. I believe we could solve the deck problem this evening by, the dock problem this evening by creating a 4.5 foot finger going out 35 feet. That brings everything under the required 35 foot dock, 4.5 foot wide finger, so that it's not too narrow, it's safe to walk, and you could comfortably put a 24-foot boat and it wouldn't go out. As far as going out into a narrow waterway, if you're familiar with Crescent Cove, I believe that's the cove, they have community docks down there that narrow West River Styx to less than 15 feet.
That doesn't have any bearing on what we're talking about, though.
Okay, well, I'm only saying my observations, but I believe 35 feet is necessity because of the depth near the bulkhead is very shallow, and there's a tremendous amount of growth in that area. So to safely bring a boat in and out, you really need to have a little bit of distance. Everybody in the area has complained about pontoon boats getting swamped, where their outdrives get clogged. So I'm only looking to make something livable for my family and still keep the lake pristine. This, I'm negotiable. If we could wrap this up 4.5 foot going out 35 feet, that makes it a walkable finger.
And not 62 feet.
No, it would be 35 feet out, 4.5 foot wide, man.
That's better than 62 to me. That
certainly is.
I still think it's too far. out, but you already have come out from the bulkhead. Don't forget, how far out does the structure come out from the bulkhead?
The existing obstruction is 17 feet.
17 feet. Then I start my 35 feet.
Yeah, so basically what they're saying, they reduce it as depicted 40 feet to 35. But they wouldn't have that area at the end of the dock. It'd just be a straight dock and reduce it by 5 feet.
Right, but I'm already into the lake 17 feet. Now I'm going out another 35. I mean, I think it's just far.
Bob, Mr. Shibetti, are you saying,
Yes.
just so we're clear, were you including that 17 feet of where the existing?
No,
piling-
absolutely not. Starting from the concrete bulkhead going out 35 feet.
Okay.
As opposed to 40, which is there now.
Yes, as opposed to 40 and having a 10 by 12 sitting area or something at the end of the dock. So it'll be 35 feet from the concrete bulkhead, which is the entrance to the boat storage.
Okay.
Even at that 35 feet, it's considerably further out than the dock to the one side. Is that correct?
Excuse me?
It's considerably out further than the dock adjacent to this, is not?
Yeah, it would be the existing dock to the east side is about 2 feet shy of the 17. So yeah, it would be if you go 35, that's 18. It's 20 feet beyond that deck, plus or minus. 20 feet beyond the end of the existing dock. I'm sorry.
To me, it's just that you're trying to put a lot on a little piece of property. I mean, it's not too often I agree with Mr. Duncan, but I have to agree with him tonight.
The lot coverage calculation does not seem to be right. I can't imagine that on a 3,900 piece of property, when you got a 750 square foot driveway and you've got an 805 square foot footprint on the home, right? That's 1,500 square feet out of 3,900 there. So I don't know where this 20% number is coming up because that's way, way off.
I think it's more like 90%.
Right.
We can review that, but I'll review that. I'll be glad to provide the numbers. But essentially, we're not really changing the coverage by month. We're not. In fact, if we're reducing it, it's only around that where the upper deck is. We're not proposing any more paved surfaces. So there really is an existing condition, and we could just identify the numbers, but we're not making that condition any worse. That's the important part. We're not proposing any more paving, any more flat areas. We could clean up the math, but essentially we're replacing beat up old broken down concrete and stone steps with a steel and concrete step. So the impervious coverage along the east side, the right-hand side of the house, is going to remain the same. The dock area down at the lakeside is going to remain the same. The left side is unchanged. The driveway is unchanged. The sidewalk is unchanged. The shed is unchanged. So it's, de minimis wherever it is. It's de minimis where any change could possibly be identified.
I understand that.
I mean, I have another concern too. We're talking about what the structure is after it's built. You're working on such a tight lot. It's been in construction 40 years. How do you build something without destroying your property and getting that built?
Well, if I could answer that question, I didn't give any clue to what my experience is. I've been a general contractor and builder for 35 years, always employed as such, and my expertise has been working in New York City with 0 clearances. So we buy lots of land between 25 and 100. We're able to build without any effect to our adjacent property owners. In this particular case, it's a cakewalk because there is a separation and there is no homes anywhere near. The closest house on the left is 40 feet away going up the hill, and the closest house on the right is 45 feet going up the hill. So all we'll be doing, we can call it what you like, it's a 30-foot wall, part of it being below grade, probably about 24 feet of it above grade. And at that point, that one wall is on the property line as an as-built condition. But the construction part is the construction part that I wouldn't mind going over technically with the building department, but I think I'd like to just stay with the zoning. What can we do regarding zoning? Construction being construction. Thank you.
Whether you have residences on the left or the right, you still have to get access onto that property to do this build. How would you get in there and dig whatever you have to dig?
Again, it's a construction issue that's handled on a regular basis. It even gets more complicated when there's a house within 2 feet. If there's 18 inches to work, you could do your siding working up. There's not a problem here. I understand your concern, and I'm not a licensed architect or engineer, but as a general contractor, as a building, this is a cakewalk. It's just a wall that goes up, it gets fireproof material, and it gets siding on top of that with insulation. And it just, you know, there's no difficulty at all.
So you're not stepping on either property, right or left of you?
Well, you know, I hate to say that today, but I'm very good. The neighbors there should not have a problem. If the neighbors were to have a problem, then we would make revisions.
All right,
But if
we're
the
not
neighbors
getting
are
any place.
blocking
We're not
it,
getting
it's a
any
moot
place on this. Just a minute,
Yeah,
Bob.
but
We're
you do
not
have
getting any
to,
place on this.
Listen, the construction
That's such,
methodology is not part of this application. Let's
Thank
stick
you.
with the variance.
absolutely not.
but you do have to be careful,
Yeah,
because there was a
have to be
case in New
careful.
Jersey with a pre-existing non-conforming setback where the court said you can't put siding on the house because the siding will be closer to your neighbor than the pre-existing historic use. So if you're right on the lot line and you start to put siding on there and it's closer to your neighbor can object because that siding is going to be over the lot line.
What we
Just
have
in
is
mind.
approximately 1 foot 7 inches on the lakeside, and I believe we have on the property line, on the West River Sticks side, and that one corner would, if need be, we would set back that corner 12 inches, but I don't see that as a problem. A survey is correct, but that right now, the makeup of the wall with the studding is bringing me to that property line. When that wall gets stripped and the cedar siding gets removed, then the plywood gets removed, it's going to bring me back to enough space to properly install siding material. It's
I just want you to
removing siding
be mindful of the issue.
You will be on the side of the property when you put that siding up. And it is an issue. Means and methods is an issue for this particular lot. And
Again, it's construction, and construction, you know, there's a thing about construction that we say, the only thing that stops construction from taking place is a lack of knowledge, but more importantly, a lack of dollars. And anything can be done in construction. I think we know that.
I object to the construction aspect of it, but we'll move on, Alan.
It just seems to me like you're asking us to take a bad situation and make it work. That's what it seems like. I mean, you're right on the property line.
Two sides. The stairs go down. You got to excavate for the stairs. You're right on the line. Everything you're doing is on the line.
Okay, well, let's move forward. Let me open it up to the public, and then we'll come back, and you can always vote against a motion or for a motion. So let me open this up to the public. Does anybody from the public have any questions or comments about this application? If so, please go to the reactions at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. We'll start with Colleen. Colleen, there you go.
Do I need to be sworn in?
Yes, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And you are speaking on behalf of the, go ahead.
Lake Hopatcong Commission.
Colleen Lyons. I'm here on behalf of the Lake Hopatcong Commission. The commission reviews land use applications in all 4 municipalities to look at what the water quality impacts of an application may be. The commission did submit a letter. Hopefully the applicant did receive that letter, and it just, I'm not sure where we are with the dock at this point. I've just been trying to follow along. There's one thing that I did notice. I'm just trying to understand where, the dock should be measured from. Somebody mentioned the neighboring property is set further back. You can see where it says deck on that survey. And just, it seems like this bulkhead happens to be further out into the waterway, but, DEP says it should be measured from the mean high water line. So looking at that in our letter, there's several rules and regulations from DEP that the applicant should be aware of, and those are outlined in the commission's letter. And that's been also, I did copy the superintendent of Hopatcong State Park, since they should also be looking at this for approval. So you may want to review that and just make sure you're meeting those requirements from DEP. That's all for me.
Thank you, Colleen. Does anybody else from the public want to comment or question this application? Anybody at all? If you do, please go to the bottom of your screen. In reactions, raise your hand. Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board.
I think we need to back off. I still think the dock's going out too far. I'm sorry. The house is a house, and it's a resident asking to improve the house. I don't have any issue with that at all. And just don't use such thick siding if you have to. But I'd like you to back off the dock where it goes out into the water. I think that's the most important issue here. The house is.
Right.
Can't be as partial.
They've offered to
I got-
reduce to 35 feet. Is that
I'm
what you're
sorry,
looking for?
can you repeat that?
Yeah, they've offered to reduce it from to 35 feet. Would that be within the range that you're looking for?
Well, no, I just don't want it to, I don't have a number in mind, but proportionally speaking, it shouldn't go out further, much further into the water than number one, the other dock. And number two, I think we should just be cognizant of the fact that, the dock work has, especially Crescent Cove, which is one of the areas of the lake that's very sensitive. So when you start talking about dock, you got my attention. So, if you could back off the length of that dock, that would be better.
But we should give him a number because he's showing 40 now, and we should give some guidance if that's the issue.
All right, 30. You want a number? I'll give you a number.
What variances is he asking on the dock? What is the standard? If he didn't need a variance, what would the dock look like?
The dock can't extend more than 15% into the waterway. And the irregular dock cannot have dimensions of more than, what is it?
The length and the width of all the fingers and of the dock in an irregularly shaped dock cannot add up to more than 50.
Right.
Can we park a
24 up
24?
to more than 50? Would it extend more than 15% into the waterway?
But the thing is, we do need to bear in mind that the dock doesn't start at the front of the, Mr. Schubert's picture of his boathouse is behind his right shoulder. And I believe what he's indicating is that he's figuring the length of the dock, the length that we're going to be talking about starts at that hunk of concrete that we see just to the left of the back of the boat.
Right.
In reality, the water line, the bulkhead, if you were to look at the site plan, the bulkhead is well behind that towards the shoreline. And the neighboring deck, I believe the neighboring deck is at the water line, where you see that the dock to the right, and then the deck is just behind that. And there's a couple stairs that look like they drop down to the dock. That's where we should be measuring, I believe, the length of the dock, because I believe that's the water line.
Does the proposed dock stick out further than the dock next door?
Yes.
Well, the proposed dock, according to the site plan, the dock to the right is already, the dock to the right is beyond call it that bulkhead. And let me get my scale out. I'll say whether if we were to if we were to go 30 feet beyond, instead of 40, we went to 30 like it was proposed. What's the scale? What's the scale on this? 20. Okay.
My question's very simple. If we go back to the order, so what the dock should be in the first place, can he park a 24-foot boat at the end of it? That seems to be the desire.
Well, the lot width, see, theoretically, also, we're not supposed to, if we want to hold that to the nth degree, the dock cannot be any longer than the width of the property at the water line. And if our water line width here, if it is, it's something around 25 feet, 24 feet. So theoretically, the dock shouldn't be any more than 24 feet without a variance. Then we have the issue about the 15% of the waterway.
You have to realize something regarding this is that with the bulkhead, right? Just because he has a bulkhead,
Yes.
concrete bulkhead all the way to the width of the property line, doesn't mean we, as the board, have to give him more. That's his choice in that. And I know it's existing, but going out even 30 feet further than everyone else, I think is too much. I think, I'm curious, how far out are those steel beams right now that if you tied a boat up, what would that be? Is that 10 feet?
About even with the dock next door, right?
Right, well, right. But I mean, is that 10 feet?
I'm
Is
sorry,
that-
I was muted. The existing pilings and steel frame extend 17 feet beyond our concrete bulkhead. And that is
Perfect.
generally
You know what?
in alignment with the two-story boathouse to our left.
Okay.
That is,
You know what? I'll give you 20 feet myself. Past the bulkhead.
I'd like to know if we could compromise, knowing that you're gonna be parking a 24-foot boat and the boat cannot be touching the house. That 30 feet that the mayor originally said is really a minimal amount to safely park a 24-foot boat, allowing for 3 foot in the rear and 3 foot in the back for exiting and also maneuvering.
So I made up a pretty good number, but
I
anyhow,
agree.
it's a hell of a
Mayor.
lot better. It's a hell of a lot better than 50. So
I agree.
so that was my issue with the dock. An individual fixing their house up that at the very beginning, again, I'm going to go back to most houses in the Hopatcong that are a hell of a lot bigger than 2,000 square feet. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of time, talking about how you're going to construct it or what you're going to deal with. But I think if we can fix the docks issue, the real issue here is how we affect the lake, and docks really affect our waterways. That's when we talk about lakefront. I think Colleen would agree with me that the biggest issue are our docks and how we can minimize as much as possible and still be realistic, the development of docks. So that's my 2 cents.
So, Mr. Scabetta, you're talking about a 24-foot boat. Does that 24-foot boat fit in your dock slip right now?
There is nothing there that I could bring the boat to. Right now you have 2 columns and 2 steel beams. And I believe when this dock existed, we have to assume that there was a cantilever past the 2 posts that are standing up. A dock doesn't end directly at the 2 posts. It usually extends past the 2 posts up to 4 feet, average 3 feet. So when my architect said that was a 17-foot extension from the concrete, and realistically it was 20. And 20 feet, back in 1940, the average lake boat was a 14-foot boat, and 20 feet accommodated it. Now an average lake foot boat is 24 feet. And believe me, if I walk away from this meeting today with 25 feet, what it really means is the tail of the boat is going to be sticking out past the dock 2.5 feet, because 24-foot boats come with a swim platform. I'm only looking to protect the boat and not be an eyesore, and to create something that all the board members tonight can be happy with, as well as myself.
And to me, the dock is just one issue. I mean, the size of it's just a massive development on a small lot.
Any lot.
You know, I mean,
I'm not really thrilled with the upper
Of a legal
deck area.
kind of a legal lot.
Mr. Mayor, why don't you make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, does the public have any additional comment? Because there's been a lot of testimony since. the
Okay,
public-
let's open it to the public again. Does anybody from the public have any comments or questions about this application again? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and in the reactions, raise your hand. Seeing no one from the public, I'll bring it back to the board. Mr. Mayor.
I'll make a motion to approve the variances to improve the structure and the dock as long as it does not exceed 30 feet.
Okay, and it would be a straight dock with a 4.5 foot width, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Now, there would be 9 eligible members. Approval of this application would require 5 affirmative votes, so there should be 9 voting members.
Well, we need a second first. Is there a second to this motion?
Mayor, is that in addition to all the technical specifications from the engineer Rusky?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mr. Tappan seconded.
Okay. Mr. Bongiovanni,
No.
Mr. Duncan,
No.
Mr. Gaffney,
Mark?
Judy?
Mr. Gaffney,
You're on mute.
Where'd he go?
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
no,
what was that?
no,
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
No.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
No. So it went down.
Yep,
They
there's
all had 4
five
positive
Sorry.
votes.
votes,
No.
4 yes votes.
Okay, so where do we go from here, Bill? Bill Haggerty.
The board has ruled against the application as submitted. If the applicant wishes to have the application continue to allow plan revisions, they could do that. They could come back with plan revisions, which may help to address some of the concerns of the board members.
May I ask one question, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Donegan?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Mr. Duncan had a concern with regard to the roof. So what is he saying that he would like to see no roof deck, but a gabled roof? I mean, could you give me,
Structure is way too high there. My opinion is whether it's a roof, whether you deem it a mechanical space or whatever, it's just too high, even though you're on a great slope. It's a
if that portion, if that portion is
More than
removed,
all the rest of the houses.
if that attic enclosure for the mechanical is removed, is that more along the lines of what you would prefer? I mean, are you
Yeah.
against the roof deck, the habitation of the roof deck?
I just think the structure is too high. And I think maybe it needs a little enhancement on the sides because they're very plain. I know you can't do much on the sides, but some kind of pick me up on it aesthetically. I mean, it just looks like it's gonna, like I use the term shear wall, because it's just gonna look like a flat wall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So
And,
as a homeowner walking away from this, hello?
Mr. Scabetti,
I
do you
was-
have
I was
anything
just gonna
else
put
you
my
want to
two-
say?
Go ahead.
I was just going to put my 2 cents in to help Mr. Scabetti. The dock, even 30 feet, I think is too long. So,
Well,
just
let
passing
me
it out
ask you
there.
this. I mean, I'm not too familiar with the way the board operates, but I understand there's some concerns, and I'm here to address any concerns. If we were to say the dock would be 26 feet, allowing for a 24-foot boat, if we were to remove the attic and put the air handler in a different location, I mean, does that satisfy anybody on the board that maybe had some concerns?
I think that definitely satisfies Mr. Duncan.
I would like to see the recalculation of the usable area on the lot. I don't think that's accurate. I think we need to look at that math again. Because we have a lot of asphalt, and, you know, that we only have 3,900 feet to work with.
Okay.
So I'd like
All
to
right.
see that.
Well, I don't, yeah, this is not a work session, so we, Mr. Bias and Mr. Scabetti, if you want to redo the plans and bring it back to us.
Yes.
Do
Yeah,
you
we
want to,
appreciate that.
do you want to request a date that you bring it back? Do you want to have?
I think it starts over again.
It starts
It's,
over?
it sounds like May is your date,
Yeah.
because Nicole said is we're really, really busy up till then.
That's as of today, though. I mean, I have other applications that are waiting. So if he has to resubmit plans, I'm assuming I have to resubmit everything to Mr. Rushke to be deemed complete once again. That's going to put him further back than May, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at May 17th or June 7th or June 21st.
As of right now, we only have one meeting in June, which would be the 21st. So May 17th or June 21st would be the next ones. Again, depending on how quickly revised plans come back to me and, it gets to John and John gets back to us.
Right, okay.
If the process starts over again, can we squeeze a work session in for Mr. Scabetti so that we can give him a better idea of what we think would be more appropriate on the lot?
I agree, Anthony. I think he should have probably came for a work session before he even went through all this, all these plans and
Nicole,
everything.
Can we squeeze in a work session?
I think that would be a very good idea. It would, yeah, if we can. And if Mr. Scabetti wants to do that.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Do we want to schedule the work session before moving ahead with anything? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you handle notice on that?
Work
No, the
session.
There's no notice on work sessions.
No notice, it's work session.
No, but what I mean, if they're going to carry it, would, unless you're doing a notice, a work session, and then carry it to July something or other anyway.
We're not carrying anything. The
No, it's
motion
gonna-
was made and
it's
defeated. Now
gonna be
we
in
start over.
Okay, sorry.
Do we want to schedule the work session now for May 3rd? Does that give you enough time to figure out what you want to come to the board with? And then I can
Yes.
put it
We
on
could
the
do
agenda
that.
right now?
If that's the earliest day, we could do that.
Okay. All right, then we'll see you May 3rd for a work session.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much for coming, gentlemen. And thank you for the very frank discussion.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move now to the zoning officer report. Bill, do you have something for us tonight?
No, nothing this evening.
Okay, then we have discussion. Mr. Rushke is supposed to discuss the Highlands resource analysis for the Hopatcong Borough Corridor Report. Business Corridor Report.
All right, let me share my screen. Okay, so as the board may know, that the Borough of Hopatcong did opt into conformance with the Highlands master plan, and the Highlands are supporting through grants, doing various planning documents to support the borough in conformance with their master plan. And I know we've had plenty of discussion over, what's taking so long regarding establishing a redevelopment zone, in the Lakeside Boulevard area and other regions. And basically, before the Highlands would support doing a redevelopment plan, they wanted this resource analysis done of the proposed redevelopment zones in order to see, what resources that the Highlands identifies as being critical resources that need to be considered when looking at, zoning and development of an area, and redefined, if necessary, the limits of the proposed redevelopment zone. And cutting to the chase, that ultimately what did happen is that we initially proposed a very broad area to be included in the redevelopment zone. And then we looked at that area, looked at all the various different resources that the Highlands identifies as critical, and then ultimately applying those resources, coming down with a reduced redevelopment zone that the Highlands agreed to. So I'll just not going to go through the whole report, but I'm just going to kind of go right to the end with the figures that were included. So, we did identify on Lakeside Boulevard, this was really looking at this larger area as being in the redevelopment zone. We were capturing this area of the Board of Education, even though it's no current plans are available, but it frankly is a very large parcel right on Lakeside Boulevard that had the potential of being redeveloped. And so this was the proposed area. And we did in fact have three areas. We looked at Hopatcong Road, and we looked at the business zone in that area. And it was really the area in red is that we redefined as the area that we were going to define as a redevelopment zone. We have a lot of existing residential properties within the business zone that we looked at that initially and just said that we're going to take those out of the redevelopment and really redevelop those areas that are existing commercial buildings. And then we had a third area, which is just Marauders. It's just located off of Lakeside. No, I'm sorry, not Marauders. This is just right off of Lakeside Boulevard, off of Holiday. And this was the third area that we looked at. Again, looking at the commercial zones. And so if you go through the Appendix B, then we start applying all the various different resources that apply to it. And this is the historic properties, and these are all defined in the Highlands Master Plan of all the various different resources that we had to evaluate regarding what way been impacted in the areas. And so we have open space buffers, we have wetlands, we have riparian areas, and I can certainly list them all, but wildlife habitat. But we looked at all these various different resources within the Highlands and looked how they impacted. Here we have slopes. And basically, we looked at the same criteria on all three of those locations, and the locations that are outside the initial Lakeside Boulevard, there really was no resources that were impacted from those areas. Those are commercial zones, and we really didn't encounter much in those areas. So they weren't as impacted as the Lakeside Boulevard corridor. So again, I'm just trying to give you a condensed version of the proposed study and ultimately getting to the end, which basically shows how the revised area need of redevelopment. And based on that, the area that was initially a much larger area, the Highlands defined that this area is the appropriate area that should be within the area of redevelopment based on their constraint analysis. And then that was the Lakeside. But the other two areas, they didn't change at all. They were no constraints or impacts, and they had no objection to it. So the most significant impact associated with this study that was done was basically refining the Lakeside Boulevard. So where do we go from here? Basically, the Highlands are looking for the borough to endorse, the resource analysis and agree upon this revised redevelopment limits. And so that's it.
I have a question, John.
I disagree with taking the Board of Ed property out. We should at least leave part of that in there.
Yes, most definitely, we should leave that in.
Okay, I can certainly go back to them and ask them reconsideration. Absolutely.
John,
My question,
does it include the old Hudson Maxim School? Or was that included last time?
That was included last time. We did that independent of the Highlands. You know, we did that prior to frankly opting into the Highlands. So that was done prior.
Okay, thank you.
John, is there an absolute that we have to accept the exact? Is there something that we could do to maneuver the areas if we wanted to, or is this absolute?
I don't know. I frankly have to go back to the Highlands. You know, I kind of push back a little bit, and this is what they're willing to endorse. And so, you know, frankly, if the borough feels very strongly that, you know, here's an example of what opting into the Highlands means, is that, you know, it's more than the words. It's basically looking at their master plan and applying their master plan to the borough, and that does affect, you know, land use regulations. And so this is a perfect
Sure, I get it.
what that means.
Yep, I completely understand that, John.
John, I think that whole section of the Board of Education, that's a really steep slope going there. So I don't know what you could even do with that as far as development anyways, you know?
You know, you're right. It does. You know, there is some shelving in there because this was an old golf course, like, you know, so there is some areas in there, and you know, you certainly can look at what was done for the Quick Check and what they did there when they cut back in the slope and build a wall. So can something be done? Yes. But it's, you know, it has some challenges associated. Absolutely.
You could easily go halfway up that slope before you get to the really bad part and develop that. But just offhand, just say, no, I don't agree with that at all. I think a part of that is very developable. Maybe not the high part, but the low part, yeah.
Well, and I guess the borough could also, if we endorse this report, doesn't mean that we don't necessarily it doesn't close the door. If frankly, if someone does come forward and wants to, you know, because it is tied to the Board of Education, they have to sell the piece of property first. So, and that going through that process. So if there is in fact interest in doing that, we can certainly, you know, reopen the door to address that versus fighting a fight now that we don't have anyone interested in at the moment.
Or we opt out.
Or we opt out. Absolutely, Mayor. You know, if there's someone that comes forward and doesn't, you know, if there's, you know, something major that's proposed there and we want to see it go through and the Highland disagrees, we can certainly opt out. Absolutely.
So my point is that we reach a point in time here where I think our land use board is the final decision in our town. And what I see here is someone saying, nah, I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit believe in our sovereignty and our ability for home rule. So, you know, and sometimes I'm not happy with all the reasons where they draw a line just to draw a line, and the state paints with a broad brush, and we're painting with a, you know, with a fine tooth comb here. So I don't know, I just a little conflicted that they sometimes arbitrarily draw a line because, oh, there might be some steep slopes here, so we'll take that property out. I'm not comfortable with their line, but, you know, it is what it is.
Well, I agree with the mayor on that. I think that I would like John to try to get them to revise their approval.
Exactly. I agree too. I think that it would help the school out, given the financial position and the money cutting and stuff. If something happens here that they could possibly sell some of this for development, God bless them.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some creative things here. Personally, for me, I've seen some creative construction going on in the last year here in Hopatcong. There's lots being built on that traditionally would not be built on. And if somebody looks at this, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
That's
and
right.
They look at this and go, oh, we can go on this and we can do something. And looking at the school, at what they're thinking about, this would be a huge advantage if we could open up that piece of property.
And maybe no one will ever use it.
Yeah, we don't know, but I would leave it as an opportunity. I guess that's where I'm at.
Hey, John, if I'm reading this properly, also the right-hand side also looks like they kind of brought us right up to the lakeside street. What's back over there? Is that also steep slope? I'm not familiar with that area.
Yeah, there is some steep slopes in the back here. There is, but they were focusing on these vacant lots, and they want the lots to be developed to the minimum extent possible, because they don't want to, because of the environmental constraints associated with their resources. That this piece of property, and they just felt that it's a large piece of property. They just when you look again, looking at their resources, applying their resources to this area. I can appreciate why they came up with this zone, but it's something that do we want to apply the Highlands resources and how this corridor is developed?
Well, what I see, if I'm looking at this right, they eliminated all the open stuff, and they just allowed all the stuff where it says pre-existing.
Right.
Correct.
Exactly.
So they don't want the Highlands. Looks to me by this drawing does not want development. That's what I see.
New development.
Redevelopment.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, redevelopment. And remember, when we get into the pilot program, it's all about what you do with the property as an evaluation above an improvement of the property.
That's
So
just I mean, we can go ahead.
Right?
That's just my opinion. I think that some people impose their will on us, and I just not comfortable with that.
Well, John, how do you feel about going back and asking them to expand it?
Well, I'll see what. I'll be very frank with them that the board was taken back by the reductions, and can that area be included? Perhaps that environmental and those resources of Highlands acknowledged in the redevelopment plan, and consideration be made to protect those resources, but to take it out of the redevelopment zone, that's where our concern is. So we'll see if we can see if there's some wiggle room here.
John, is there a way of letting them know what we're looking for?
They know exactly what we were looking for. It's shown on the outline here. We were very we were covering here's the commercial properties here that they've taken out because of the constraints around them. I can appreciate this area in here. It is wet. This area. I can appreciate taking out wetlands and things like that, which would be hard to be developed in the first place. Steep slopes is questionable. Steep slopes is only a concern during construction, but if it's designed properly, steep slopes can be properly stabilized and controlled. It's just a disturbance in the beginning. So, to take something out purely because of steep slopes, that's just, in my opinion, it's not necessary.
Well, that's my
John,
suggestion. Rather than a 50-foot dock, let's show them a 30-foot dock.
Yeah.
We'll cut it down.
Hey, John. In timing of this, we go back to them. How much does to delay the opportunity to get this settled? I mean, that we can and start declaring this a redevelopment zone.
I think it will create delays only because this is not something that they're going to take very lightly and just give me an answer right away. They'll deliberate on it, and they'll go back and forth with discussions, and so it took us a while to get to this point. So I could see some delays.
So let me ask you this, John. Technically speaking, if the school wanted to put that property up for sale, and then someone wanted to develop it, they just wouldn't be in the redevelopment zone or share any of them benefits, correct?
Correct.
They would have to comply with all of our environmental constraints and building practices. Is that correct?
That is correct based on the current zoning, but this is a snapshot of ultimately the Highlands are looking for the borough to update its master plans, update its land use regulations to conform with the Highlands master plan. So, you know, ultimately to say, I can say yes, Mayor, based on current zoning, but you know, where we're, you know, and the borough can step out, you know, can just get out anytime, you know.
No, by definition, John. So everything inside the green line is going to be area and needed redevelopment, correct?
Correct.
That doesn't make everything outside the green lines in no building zone, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct, Mayor.
So we can work within the green lines, and then you'd be available for all the rules for redevelopment. And if we're outside the green lines, we go back to our zoning.
Correct.
And with that zoning, we could give.
But doesn't that, but doesn't that
having the
eliminate
redevelopment zone? You know, one aspect of having the redevelopment zone is to try to spark redevelopment to occur. You know, so people, the benefits associated being a redevelopment zone. So
if we're outside the green lines, it would just be plain development.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Right. I almost feel better about that.
But doesn't that eliminate the ability to get into the pilot program? If they're outside the green, they can't participate in the pilot program?
Correct. But outside the green is not redevelopment, that's development.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we can, can we do that, John?
Yes, we can. We can certainly, you know, the redevelopment and frankly, you know, you're looking at, you know, the redevelopment regulations. It is hard to justify, you know, a piece of land that's undeveloped as in need of redevelopment.
Yeah, that's kind of why
it's a stretch, and you know, certainly, you know, we're in a situation where you know, we're for our town center designation is now being pulled into the Highlands, and so you know, we just, you know, say that anymore. So we have to work with the Highlands on that constraint. So
yeah, okay, but that's okay. And so really inside the green lines is redefining our designated center, correct?
no, it's just identifying the redevelopment zone. It does not mean the town center. You can certainly, the town center is still the town center. It covers majority of the town center.
Yeah, okay.
We haven't gotten to that point or changed that at this point in time.
So basically you're eligible for pilot program or not. That's what we're talking about.
That within the green line, correct.
Okay. I'm okay with that because we can work.
Yeah, actually, we
could actually develop. There's not much land there to develop. That's the only thing we'd be looking to develop that's fresh earth. That's, you know, raw earth. Everything else is developed and you're redeveloping it. Why can't that be included in the overall program? And just
right, but it's undeveloped. But why can't we just designate that as commercial?
Yeah, we can.
We can in our master plan.
And maybe that's all this. Maybe I've already identified the B zone.
It's already in the B zone.
So we were calling basically the redevelopment zone. I was calling the B zone the redevelopment zone, and that's it. So this is in the B zone already, and this is in the B zone. This area of the Board of Education. Right. So you know, it's still available for development. This does not stop the development in those areas.
Yeah. Okay. So everything outside the green is in control of the land use board. Everything inside the green will be criteria of area in need of redevelopment, correct?
Yes, and it's still under the jurisdiction of the board. You know, the next step is to adopt the redevelopment zone and adopt those regulations that within that specifically red zone. So we're going to look at rezoning that particular area of the area in need of redevelopment. Where we can talk. There'll be a subsequent discussion regarding how we want to make changes from the business zone, but you know, that would be our focus for, you know, future programs and whatever. And then if, you know, again, when you're looking at it, it kind of is the area that is commercial, that is prone to redevelopment versus new development.
Right.
Okay.
Right. John, theoretically, we have two projects down there, the car wash down at the end of Lakeside, and also all the residential that's going in there. How does that affect it? Or it doesn't? Because that's being
Well,
redeveloped.
the car wash is proposed in this lot, and they're not proposing to go into the wetlands anyway. So, they would be covered under this.
And the other one would too?
The new one, they have their approvals and they're moving forward, so they wouldn't be entitled to a pilot program. So it'd be any future development that wants to come forward with, mixed use or adding residential, that could be considered.
Well, John, by definition, if we approve this and they're not done with that project, they can still apply for a pilot program. Because you got 60 days after it's finished.
Yeah.
After completion.
Also for the council, Mayor, why would you want to give, it's already a project that's going forward. Usually pilot program is encourage someone to actually do development. And so,
because we get 90% of the money.
Michael, that's all right,
Yeah.
Michael.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm being honest.
Let it go, Michael.
I didn't make the law.
I know.
I just play by the rules.
Okay, Bill Haggerty, where do we go with this now?
Well, John, are you ready for a motion to accept as presented?
Yeah, I think so, Bill. And I guess we can just draft a resolution afterwards of the board, just adopting or accepting the report.
Okay. So
it's not part of it. It's not a redevelop. It's not a master plan element that to the best of my knowledge, it's just an independent report on the resource analysis. So it doesn't require public hearings or anything. It's just an independent report.
Okay, and with that resolution, that would go to the Highlands, I take it, and they would be
Correct.
advised. Okay, all right. So it would just be a motion to accept the Highlands resource analysis as presented, dated April 2021.
I would like to move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Yep, hold on. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Croft,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Oh, man.
You're outvoted, Mike. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mike, it don't count.
Yeah.
It don't count.
That's what I'm used to. I'm on a roll anyhow, so what the hell?
Mr. Gilbert,
That's right.
Yes.
Just vote
I
for president.
apologize. Who was the second on this?
Mark Gaffney.
Mark
Gaffney.
Gaffney. Mr. Gaffney.
Got it.
Okay. All right, now, the previous one, at one point, we did have a public hearing for it. At what point do we have to have a public hearing of this one?
It'd be the same.
That we would have a public hearing on the actual redevelopment plan, not the resource constraint plan.
Right, okay, good. So all we need to do, Bill, if you would draft a
We'll have a
resolution.
short resolution just to indicate that that's been adopted.
Right, and then we'll pass that
Accepted.
along to the mayor and board.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's go to resolutions now. Gary and Susan Solander, hearing date February 15th, 2022. Now, this is the one, I believe, that we just got a revision on today. Bill, do you want to just speak quickly on that?
Yeah. The revision strictly was because in the plat that was presented to the board, there was a miscalculation. There was a reduction in lot area, and Arriaga's chart had a reduction in lot coverage, which made no sense. So I went back and I said, revise, it wouldn't affect the vote of the board at all. The board had all the information before it when it made its ruling and decision, but it was a matter of conforming the plat that was provided with the facts on the ground. So it really doesn't, we're fine. We're fine, frankly.
Okay. Nicole?
I need someone to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve the resolution.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
I have to abstain.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Second, Teresa Pesky, motion is order to approve the Pesky resolution granting variance approval permitting the construction of a single-family home on a vacant parcel at 496 River Styx Road, block 31603, lot 22.02. February 15th, 2022 was the date that we approved it. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
To approve it. I'll second it.
Go on,
Give it to
Nicole.
Judy. I'll second
All
it.
right. Mr.
Judy and
Bongiovanni,
Rich. Yeah.
Wow.
I got it. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yay.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Abstain.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Abstain.
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Andrei Andrachuk, February 15th, 2022. Motion is in order to approve the Andrachuk resolution granting an extension for a prior variance approval at 7 Rutgers Way, block 40212, lot 17.
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Is that Tappan and Duncan?
Yeah. Take your
Okay.
pick.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Abstain.
Mr. Duncan. I didn't hear you, Bob. I'm sorry. Mr. Duncan,
He
Yes.
said yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Abstain.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Abstain.
Mr. Tappan,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Correspondence. We had 3 pieces of correspondence from the Lake Hopatcong Commission, which we've already discussed. We also had something from Mr. and Mrs. Winfield, which we have also discussed. Escrow refund. There is no escrow refund this time. Should we pay the bills?
Pay the bills.
Wait a
Please.
second.
Nicole?
Yeah, you all talked at once. Who made the motion?
Duncan.
Duncan.
Second by Mr. Schindler.
Thank you. Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Tappan,
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. I will now open the meeting to the public. Would anybody from the public like to address the board on any issue at all? If so, please go to the bottom of your screen and in the reactions, raise your hand. Any issue at all? Anything you want to discuss with the board? Any questions you want to ask? Anything you want to discuss? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the board. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Mrs. Crock?
Motion to adjourn and happy St. Patty's Day to one and
Yes.
all.
Thank you very much,
You-
and we are
Patty's
adjourned.
Day.
Everybody.
Good job, Judy.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Have a nice evening, everybody.